Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Gaming with Shoggoths, and today I am gonna kind of go over some tips and ideas on how to build a river delta sort of enclosure or biome for your dinosaurs. I kind of, for this one, I sort of have a Nile River Delta kind of vibe. Unfortunately, because of the map I've chosen, I can't use like a muddy dirt texture kind of thing to have more of a silty look. So it's going to be more of a deserty look to it. But that's mainly because I chose to use the Arizona map. And there is a very, I don't want to say there's a very specific reason why I chose it, but I just felt like it was easier to build, the water source for the river, or that the river flows to and creates the delta. In my opinion, to do something like this, you really do need like flat land. You can't build a river into an ocean, or else something like one of the island maps would work really well, like with the expanded island mod. But because the rivers and the oceans don't connect in the game, like, because they never were meant to, it looks really bad. It kind of looks like what happened right there. Like, it looks bad. Like, you have this, like, wall in between your water, your river, and your sea. So I thought the next best thing to do would be on a more deserty climate like the Arizona map, and you actually build your own sea with the water tool, and then you have your river parts going off it, which is what I'm doing here. This does involve mods, definitely. Like, I'm not even sure, like, you could probably make some proximity of this without mods, but it wouldn't, I don't think it would turn out as well, especially because one of the key things you need is just to be able to have many layers and be able to kind of go really deep into the ground, and you just can't get that kind of depth sometimes with the base terrain tools. The mods that are the most important to this are the expanded terrain tools and the expanded scenery mod by Chaotic, both of those by Chaotic, and then the expanded islands maps, which is by Open Naja, or Naja. I always almost say Ninja every time. And basically what you've seen so far is that I kind of carved out like a bit of the river, kind of the borders with some water and some river areas. And now I'm just making, like, I wanted to have multiple layers in the land, so that way you kind of have like, a canyon effect going on. And, this river's been around forever, and or these rivers, I should say, really, it's more than one river. It's kind of several river systems coming together, and they've carved through the land over many years and built this canyon that comes out into this sort of flooded area that's, that's going to be like the delta area. Since I was kind of having a, like an African, Nile, Mediterranean sort of vibe going on, I do eventually, in another video, I'm going to have like some Spinosaurus, cars, stuff like that, some other African dinosaurs that weren't necessarily around at the same exact time or in the same exact place, but we only have so many options. So, I kind of use some creative license, but, most of this video is me just carving out this little river area and, and getting rid of all the cactuses with the bulk. This is the bulk edit tool. If you don't use it, it's amazing. It's sort of rendered like the fact that Frontier gave us that whole like flat and treeless, option. Like, it almost rendered it useless. I hate to say. I mean, that's, it's a base tool in the game, but that bulk delete trees and scenery is a godsend. I love it. So for the next little while here, we're just going to be carving out the river area. I don't know if you can tell on the speed build, but there are some points where I actually have trouble getting the river tool to work going into the mountains, like right here, like it kind of just like stops. So what I do for that is I just go to the normal terrain editing, the actual land editor, and you take like the flatten tool, and then you want your slope and your intensity all the way up and your radius all the way down. You just come from a flat area and you can dig into it like that, and then just go back over it with water like that, like all this is right here, and you can have your river go in there as per usual. I think it probably just has to do with the fact that the game is not a custom, it wasn't originally meant to be able to cut into land like that, so it just doesn't know what to do with it, basically. But there's a way around it. We just got to do it like that, and it's really simple and easy and quick. And with your slope and your intensity turned all the way up, it cuts through it kind of like pretty much like butter with this particular mod. So for this one, now I'm just kind of smoothing it all out. You know, some of the intensity levels of this mod do kind of make the land look very jagged, so it's always a good idea to run over it with a smoothing brush. And then for this, I'm just smallest radius for the water, and I'm just making little branches, you know, where the water is pushing through, and it's, you know, this is where the silt hasn't built up in the river basin. And this part actually turned out a lot better. This is one of the things where I think that this would be harder to do with the normal, without any mods. It's just because you can't get, you know, you can't make these tiny little arms, you know, in the silt like you can with this mod. And I think that's one of the places where this really helps kind of sell this idea, is that you can make these tiny little offshoot streams off of the main river. So over here, I'm trying to fix... I'm trying to, as I was saying, you know, sometimes when you cut through the land, it makes everything really sharp, and along the borders, that can really screw things up sometimes. And so I was just trying to fix it up a little bit. Like, it ends up looking okay, but a big piece of advice I would say is that when you're along the border of the map, when you're using the expanded maps and the expanded terrain tools, is to be very, very, very careful. Because it's hard to fix it sometimes, and you have to manipulate the land. But, okay, so this is what the delta looks like before I start decorating. The last thing I did is I just kind of went over it with very low intensity land raising, and just raised everything up so it kind of looked like there's some areas where, you know, like the silt would have built up and made little islands. And then we get to the decorating part. Which was a joy for me because, well, you know, first I did a little bit more tooling out, but, oh yes, and painting, just kind of getting the sand colors on. But the decorating was a great joy for me because this is the first video where I tried out Chaodenic's expanded scenery, which gives us plants, bushes, flowers, and trees all as individual decorations, which is a blessing. And this video is the first time that I tried it out, so I was really just kind of like, oh my god, the whole time. This is actually one of my favorite ones in it, and you'll see it a lot in here. Right now what you're looking at is just me trying out some of these brushes, and I figured I would leave this part in so you can kind of see, or not these brushes, bushes, not brushes. But so you can see some of the individual plants that I will use on this whole thing, because it did take me a really, really long time to decorate. The first thing I did is I just used one of the brushes that doesn't have any cactus in it, because this is the Arizona one, and most of them have little cactus type plants in the brush. Obviously that's not quite the right look for Africa, so I made sure to use the one that doesn't, that just has more of the bushes. And I just kind of put that down as a base, and then later on as I go, then I will, you know, delete some of it or add more, kind of depending on what I want on each little piece of land. And then I just, you know, found 5 or 6 different bushes, trees, plants, whatever that I liked, you know, a nice combination that would kind of fit the land and everything, the territory, the terrain, the climate. And, you know, I just put them out there, but it took a long time, and so I wasn't going to keep that in the Speedbuild. I didn't even record it, because I knew it would take forever, because it's very detailed. And all it would be is you see me putting down plants randomly. So I figured I would just keep this part in instead, and you can just see the different plants that I use real quick. Like, I'm just kind of putting these down as an example, and I was trying out the mod right here. You know, there's 600 plants in here. Over 600 plants available through this mod now. And yeah, so there's so much to go through. I was just like, oh my god, this is great. Just kind of giving some palms a look, just to kind of see some of the options. You can also see kind of there in the back, those are from some of the seed and fruit bearing plants brushes that you can use. Like, everything in this mod has just been broken down into individual pieces. So there's even tree stumps, there are logs, which, I mean, everyone knows, like, love my logs, I love my rocks. Oh, and that's the other thing, other than plants, I did throw a bunch of rocks down, but you'll see all that in a minute. You know, and I just kind of found the ones that I liked, and then, you know, just put them everywhere. And then, and then eventually it turns into something like this. And there we go. Like, this is a river delta decorated with plants. If we had like a grass brush, I probably would have gone around and just kind of filled in some areas here and there with some splotches, instead of like having individual ones like this elephant grass. But you know, I mean, it's still, I think it looks right for like kind of like the climate. And I don't know why I kept wanting to say temperate. I just wanted to say climate, not temperate climate. Anyways, yeah, so, you know, this is, in my opinion, as far as like putting down trees and plants go with individual ones, the most natural way to do it is randomly and sporadically, because, you know, in our backyards and stuff like that, like we sometimes, you know, place and build things to look more orderly, but in nature, everything just, you know, seeds get pushed everywhere, everything kind of goes everywhere, and things pop up randomly. So I think the best way to do it is just to put it down and just try not to bunch them up too much in most areas. All right, well, that is my take on an African river delta biome. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I really did enjoy making it, especially decorating with all these cool new individual plants. I look forward to doing more of that as well. I am going to be putting dinosaurs in here, so if you haven't subscribed yet and you want to see that, hit that subscribe button so that way you know when the new video pops up. As always, I appreciate you checking this out, and until next time, have a good one.